Hello, world. How are your finances in these COVID times? You're watching World Humanitarian Drive's 33rd episode of Inspiring Millions Show. This is the show where we celebrate brilliant minds from around the world who share with us their story, one story at a time. Today, our featured guest is Honorable Professor Dr. Arben Malaj, President of the Institute for Public Policy and Good Governance. Let's get to know his inspiring story in a short while. Thank you for joining us live or on replay. I'm Viva Andrada O'Flynn, your host and Global Media Relations of World Humanitarian Drive. World Humanitarian Drive, also known as WHD, is an international NGO founded in Croydon, UK, by British Indian global peace activist, entrepreneur, writer, Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed. The primary vision of WHD is to promote peace, education, and trade harmony initiatives globally among everyone across the world, regardless of race, gender, religion, or nationality, living as one family. WHD is striving for humanity. This Inspiring Millions show is your show. As always, we encourage you to engage and interact with us. Please help us spread inspiration to the world by sharing this link. Put your questions that you would like to ask our guest, Honorable Professor Dr. Arben Malaj. Greetings or comments that you have for us in the comments box. We would love to read them later on in the show. Let us also know where you are watching this. Wherever you are in the world, let us keep you company and brighten your day as we share peace, love, and goodwill. The month of September is Preparedness Month to empower and boost people's resilience when it comes to emergencies and disasters that are natural and man-made. The question we would like to pose today is, how financially prepared are we for emergencies? In this week's episode of Inspiring Millions Show, our featured guest, Honorable Professor Dr. Arben Malaj, will give us useful ideas on how to take care of our finances in these times. He is the former Minister of Finance, Republic of Albania, and is currently the President of the Institute for Public Policy and Good Governance, and also is the Deputy Rector of the Ecampus for Western Balkan Countries. Professor Malaj is the recipient of WHD's Regal British Award for his continuous contributions to the world economy and for transforming the Albanian economy into a European profile after the hard social economic crisis the country passed. Over his long and rich professional career, he has provided valuable contributions to both the academic and the public sector spheres. He is also a steering committee member of WHD's Trade for Peace initiative. Let us all welcome a humanist with a great vision to support the world's economy with his revolutionary ideas of trade and strengthening world peace, Professor Dr. Arben Malaj. Welcome and thank you for being with us here today. How are you today, Honorable Professor Dr. Arben Malaj?
Thank you very much. My best regard to everyone, especially to the young people who have interest, not just to hear about trade and peace, but to be the real ambassador of peace through concrete policy which can provide a better revenue to everyone, and also to support the young people to have hopes, to fulfill their hopes, and to be part of challenges ahead. I send regards from Albania, who is also the homeland of Mother Teresa, who inspired many people everywhere in the world and create the excellent examples how just one person with goodwill and strong commitment can change the situation for specific social, health, and financial crises to everyone and to some countries. I am very inspired for her contribution. I am proud to be from the same country.
Thank you, Honorable. Could you please introduce yourself to the world and share a brief story about you?
Okay, you just presented me, but to inspire positively young students who are part of this audience, I'd like to mention 2 or 3 important moments in my life. The first, I grew up in a small village in Albania. I grew up in a big family with 9 children. And during the communist system, we didn't have opportunity to go to high school, especially if you have someone who started university. For this reason, I worked 6 years in agriculture, and 3 times every week, I go from my small villages to study high school for economics in my home city. Wasn't easy because I worked from 6 o'clock morning to 1 o'clock p.m. in agriculture. After that, I walk 10 kilometers to go to my school and 10 kilometers to come back in my home. And for about 4 years, I walked about 7,000 kilometers to have the better education for my better life. And what is my best achievement in my life is not about position as a minister for 6 years, as an MP for 16 years, as a member of supervisory board of Albania, and many jobs on political level and the academic level. The best achievement in my life is my legacy, is my model to people of my village and to people of my country. After 30 years until now, I'm happy to see students from my village to mention to me, our parents use your models as a milestone for us to be optimistic for our future. This is a mission on our life, to create a positive model and to inspire the people for the better life.
Thank you. That's a really great introduction, and you consider your legacy to be your important contribution.
And so part of this introduction is that, and is a message for everyone, from the small village, from the part-time high school. After many years in government and in the parliament, I had the good luck to be senior fellow Center for Business and Government at Harvard University. This is a personal achievement because sometimes to be minister, sometimes to be member of the parliament, you need support for others, or others can create obstacles for you to have a good career. But through your investment in knowledge, you will be independent. You can put the positive pressure to everyone to respect you and to create your opportunity to serve your country, not just in politics, but also in academics area, in business area, in social society. And the message is that never give up. Doesn't matter what kind of difficulties we feel in your life. If you have some principles, values in yourself, if you have the clear idea to be strong, to fulfill your dreams, everything is possible. And I would like to mention that many people are concerned about very high inequality levels. And one of the best public policy is not just to provide big social programs, which are not easy to be financed. It's not easy to provide the equality revenue for everyone or for every family or individual. The best public policy is to increase equal opportunities for everyone. We are living in the period of IT revolution. Let me share a concrete experience with people of Institute for Public Policy and Good Governance. I encourage them to be ambitious for their life. And just 2 months ago, I asked them to see how to apply to different courses, which are in different platforms, to take the courses for the priorities which they are ambitious in their life. Do you know that just in one online courses from Yale University, which is a part of Ivy League, and the cost for one academic year is about $50,000 to take the online classes from the same professor with same curricula, with the same academic credibility. Do you know how much is the price for one course? $49. And you know why? because the advantage of knowledge economy and online learning is that in this course, for the well-being, was registered 3.2 million people in the world. And for this reason, the cost was $49 for this course. It's from the same professor who teach in this university, from the same university, but over the world, especially in a poor and developing country. It's not easy to finance your higher education. And the debt of students is the higher than the debt of mortgages. And your family will be in the risk just to fulfill your dream to be well educated. Don't spend much money just to be in the best university in the world. Today, the best company are not asking what kind of diploma do you have. They have a special softwares to interview you and to know your special abilities if you are well educated and you can fulfill the gap of knowledges for the jobs which are looking for.
So Professor Malaj, you also co-founded the Institute for Public Policies and Good Governance. Could you tell us more about it?
Yes. In 2013, I go out of the politics of my country because I have some debate about the better democracy in the political party, because without democratization of political parties, it's not possible to have democratic government in our countries. And leader of my party, Socialist Party, did what leaders everywhere in the world like to be. They get out, everyone who is not 100% with them. And to serve to my country, I found another way. I created the Institute for Public Policy and Good Government in Albania as the best opportunity for young researchers and my students to promote them. Now, our institute is working for different programs for donors, but the real advantages are our new researchers. I'm professor doctor, a partner of this institute as a PhD and associated professor. Another is has a PhD, a young lady who worked for us. She found them through email, was very ambitious, and she studied in Harvard. After 1 year experience with us, we supported, and now some students through the different internship programs are working with us. This institute will be my legacy to my country, because if you are a politician, taxpayer pay for us, and we must feel obligation to do something, not just when we are member of the parliament or member of government, but every time, because through this kind of public position, we get some experiences better than others, and the knowledge is not just personal thing, which you can get in yourself and to be afraid not to share with them, others. No, the knowledge is a public good, which means many people who are well educated are the real advantages of every country and the real guarantee for better life of them and better life of their country. And I ask every time my student, because I'm teaching economies of development in the different universities of Albania and Balkan countries, please don't hesitate to share your knowledge with your friends and colleagues, because it's the best way to go through the process which I mentioned. Is the democratization of knowledges is the precondition, because democratization of knowledges through the better digitalization can provide access for people everywhere in the poorest part of our country. If not any issue, if they are for the rich families or poor families, it's necessary to have the access through digitalization to many sources of knowledges, and they can learn not just in the classes, they can learn not just 3 hours, they can learn everywhere, where they are working, by the phones, where they are traveling, where they are cooking, and doing everything in their home. And the real challenges of our society is that how to go through democratization of knowledge to democratization of revenue. This is the real challenges, because we know that about 8 billionaires in the world have wealth, which is about wealth of 3 billion people. How is possible? Well, I know that we go through liberalization of markets everywhere, and also through the online services. The billionaires who invested in this industry have access not just to 2 million people, a small country, not just to countries with 5 million people. They have access to 7 billion people. But what is the problem is the difference between two speeds. The speed of globalization markets for goods and services, and the low speed of global institution for global challenges. In this concept, without this better harmonization between two speeds, to have high speed to have access to markets, and low speed to create the global government institution with global responsibility, will be in the risk situation in the future, because poverty and inequality can destroy social cohesion and can create very critical social situation in our country, especially in poor countries. And without social cohesion, it's not possible to govern your country in the right way.
Let's talk about government. Well, government is supposed to be for the people. How should governments manage economy and public finances?
To be sincere with you, if we see the different international indexes, which are like scanner 3D, many of them have a positive impact in the concept. They helping us to know the real problems in democracy, real problems in the good governance or rule of law, about economic freedom, about political freedom, about business environment, and others. And my concern is that, we have been under the psychological pressure of pandemic. We know that, but the last report of UN, natural disasters are going to be a high risk for every country. They will be more often than before. They will be more deadly than before. There will be more dangers than before, and they will create a social, economic, and financial cost higher than before. In this context, it's easy for leaders who are I would like with the protectionist, no, but with the populist, to be Eurosceptic, to be skeptic about opening our markets, to be radical for immigrants, to take some advantages for the not positive forces on the left and on the right. And if you see in some countries, this group who is playing with the difficulties of the people are taking some advantages on the representative in the parliament and government. Sometimes they create the cause of delays about deeply integration in the regional, European, and global level. And if we don't have the good strategy how to handle the cost of COVID, the cost of earthquakes, the cost of natural disasters, they will take more advantages and they will create more problems in our societies.
I'm just reading through the comments of our virtual audience. So we've got virtual audience from Philippines, India, Malaysia, and different parts of the world. We have a question from Win, and she's asking that well, she's saying at first, corruption is one of the main problems that's adversely affecting a country's growth. How do you prevent, or what do you think the government should do to eliminate corruption?
Okay, the first, to be sincere with you, because I prepared the first national strategy to fight corruption in Albania. I became the Minister of Finance in my country in 1997, and until now, that time, the former government didn't accept in Albania had been corrupted country. And together with World Bank, we prepared the first national strategy. Okay, corruption will never be eliminated. We need to have the real goals. The problem is that the corruption is something in horizontal level. Many concern for countries with a weak institution, when power is just in the hand of few people. The many concern for me, which I mentioned many times in public, is about state capture. What is that? Our leaders promise to work for the people with people, but in reality, many of them are applying some policy which are destroying social cohesion, which can increase equality, and which eliminate the competition, and the cost of public investment and the cost of public services are higher, and the risk of those costed to fiscal stability is very high. Let me share with you 2 or 3 figures based on the last report of IMF during the pandemic situation. A study from IMF, the title of this research is Well Spent, mentioned that in the poor countries, where institutions are poor and corruption is very high, and state capture is also very high, about 50%, 50% of public investment are misused in different way. About they reduce the competition. This is one. They increase the corruption, and about 50% of taxes are misused. In countries like Albania, which is part of developing country, it's about 33%. In well-developed country, it's about 15%. No country have the zero level of corruption, because if I put target to eliminate corruption in zero level, we can misuse our focus, our achievements, and we can disappoint people of our country. We need to have the clear vision. We need to have a national strategy, which are not short-term strategy. They are medium and long-term strategy. We need to clarify targets by the period. How percent we can reduce corruption in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years. How can we do that? Because some populist leaders try to apply penalties in the center of their strategy to reduce corruption, which doesn't work. Why? About tax morality. Because people who know that the government are corrupted not have a goodwill to pay their tax obligation. And if governments try to achieve high results in the short time, for sure, this is not effective way, because to have sustainable results, to reduce the corruption, to reduce the state capture, we need the reforms on institutions, we need reform of tax policy, tax administration, and also we need to increase the public awareness. What we are doing? We are doing to find corruption. What will be the best result? To invest more in health, in education, in social cohesion. We need to have public support for our challenges ahead. Also, based in the 10 golden rules of macroeconomy, the best way to have sustainable results need to have as a core of this vision incentives, because people react in the positive way based on incentives than punishment instrument.
If governments misuse funds, so what can we ordinary citizens do to get ready for emergencies financially? What should be on our financial first aid kit?
Okay, we know that if the economic growth rate is going down, and you mentioned that what are the differences of COVID or differences of different financial crises. What happened last year is 100% different than other countries. Why? Because if we have financial crisis, we have some negative impact in finance industry and some indirect impacts on economy. But the pandemic have some specific impacts. The first, high cost of humans, people who died or who had the long-term negative impact from pandemic. And based on research of Adam Grant, who is a professor of psychology in the Wharton University, every year in US economy, just for the low productivity of the people from 3 to 6 months post-trauma, US economy is losing every year about $70 to $74 billion. Second is about social negative impact. What does it mean? The number of people who be more poor than before the pandemic situation was growing up very fast. And to go back in the level of para-crisis, on the level of pre-crisis, we need many years. It's not just 1 year, or it's not enough just some fiscal or monetary policy. The third is about economic negative impact, because growth rate in my country before pandemic was about 4%, but during the pandemic, it was just 1%. As economists, usually we use the rule of number 72. If you try to calculate for so many years, you need to double the personal revenue, you can try to know about how percent of personal income are growing every year. If it's 3%, you need 24 years to double your personal incomes. But if it's 1 year, you need 72 years. If it's 0.5, you need 144. In this context, I know that the growth rate, economic growth rate, is not the best economic indicators to know what happened in our countries. But we need to have the growth rate based in 3 special elements. We need higher growth rate, we need sustainable growth rate, and we need the growth rate, fair growth rate, which share the benefits of growth rate more widely, not just to few people, but to increase and consolidate the middle class, and also to get out of the poverty millions of people. In this context, the last, not last, but another negative impact is about financial sustainability. And we know during the pandemic, all central banks, including Fed in US, including European Central Bank, including Central Bank of Philippines or China, everywhere, they take the responsibility to provide easy money because we need to stop negative impact in our economy and to help our economy to come back with low negative impacts. In this context, to do that when individuals and business reduce their investment was a moral obligation to government to provide financial instrument as fast as possible. And what Lagarde, who was a former executive director of IMF and now is the president of European Central Bank, mentioned in the first days of pandemic, we help the countries as much as necessary and as long as necessary. And until now, we have a debate in academic area. What was the positive impact of easy money? Was a positive, was for some countries, was for some groups, social groups, was with a sustainable impact, or easy money created the seeds of another financial crisis. Many debate on that. And last but not least, negative impact of pandemic was in the politics, because through pandemic situation, some leaders in the country with a not good culture on democracy misuse this critical situation to increase the authoritarian style, to reduce the democracy, to reduce the economic freedom, and try to provide more benefits from rich people. Based on the research of IMF, during the crisis, during the pandemic, many people in many countries, in themselves, approve that doesn't matter corruption, we need a health solution for ourselves. Just this mentality favorizes the business, oligarch, and the state captures government to increase the cost of health service during the pandemic situation about 50%. And this is critical because people doesn't have the good financial resources, and to lose about 50% of their public investment for the reason which I mentioned before, and to increase the cost of public debt just to provide the health insurance for the people, and the prices just for corruption, because in emergency leaders like to justify, oh, we don't have a time to go through procedures. We can go immediately and doesn't matter how much will be the cost. We are living in difficult time, and for this reason, it's more necessary than ever to have a positive approach and to have positive commitments.
So this pandemic has impacted lives, closed businesses, made people lose their jobs. How can people bounce back and recover from this?
Yeah, I hope that we know by theory economy have 4 phases of its cycle, but overall, the best way to improve the preconditions, to improve the prevention of crisis, to improve the better good governance is for young people to be real challenge of their country. If they lose their arguments and motivation why they need to be positive factors in social and political of their countries, they are part of problems, not a part of solution. Let me to share with you one example which I try to share with my students. It's a special initiative from World Bank providing Philippines and other countries about Check My School. Also, I found a good example to inspire my students from India. In one village in India, local governments spend a lot of money every year about floods of their city. And money was misused, and the situation was the same. One day, some young people from this city in India used the access to internet to study which will be the better technical project to find solution for this, because bureaucrats doesn't have the good interest or there had been corruption. They found the best technical solution, they proposed to their city, and when city apply the project for their citizens, solution was there and they get some benefits. In this context, young people doesn't need to wait someone to come from God to change the situation of their country. Citizen participation is the key element of better life. As the Institute for Public Policy and Good Governance, we are working to provide transparency of budget in local and national levels. It's a special program of UN and IMF and other donors, which try to increase transparency of budget. And the logo of this institute is that open your budget, improve your life. We need to find which will be the real factors of us to use for the better life in our countries. The best is transparency. Second is citizen participation. And last but not least is how to create a public monitoring process to people who will vote for them. MPs, mayors, ministers, prime ministers, president. And now is easier than before. With OECD, which is a special organization to promote democracy, I visited many cities in my country to see about how young people are participating to democracy. I remember that in one city in north part of Albania, we met the senator of the high school, and we discussed about district, about situation. We visited the schools. Situation was terrible. Logistics was terrible. And when I asked these students why you don't react, why you didn't ask, and she told me it's not possible because the director of teachers, if they know that we are reacted, they can penalize us. And I thought, okay, what about your parents? And I told you the same situation. Okay. And in one moment, she shared with me idea, okay, I can write a letter. I have a courage to do that, but he can get it, he can take it, and no one know that I posted letter to him. And I thought, okay, if you are concerned of that, why you are not using social networks? You can write the letter, you can put in social network, and it's not easy for him to hide your concern. But I think, yeah, sometimes young people, and we need to invest to them, we need to inspire them, don't have enough courage to be part of challenges. And this is risky because we know that, especially based on a demographic deficit, some of them have opportunity to go abroad and they find the easy way. Okay, it's normal, everyone is seeking for the better life everywhere, doesn't matter is or not is his homeland. And some of them don't like to react because they are afraid the government will find a different way to punish them and also their families. But I recommended them to read the book Amazing Grace or to see the movie Amazing Grace, which is a history of just 5 persons who believe in God, who have a strong commitment to change the history of their country. They removed the slavery for Britain economy, which is the key factor of the advantages until the time, but were based in slavery. And what happened? After that, Britain find a different way to modernize the economy with shifting economy based in slavery to economy based to industrial revolution, finance industry, and others. We don't need all members of one country to be part of our challenges. But I remember in one leadership program, a good example from US was an excellent speaker. He used to be the director of department in one state of United States when he was very young. And he mentioned that many people was afraid of me. I didn't have experience. I was the boss of some people with very long experience, but government chosen me to put some fresh idea. And he was hesitated. But after some time, he was the best example in United States how to modernize education. And what I mentioned, and I would like to share with you, I mentioned that I didn't have experience, but I had principles. And if you respect principles in your life, in your position, for sure you'll be successful. Let me share something from Tim Cook. I don't know how of you are using Apple. He's the CEO of Apple. In his speech in MIT in 2017, he mentioned something which inspired me and tried to share with my students and my leaders of my country. He mentioned that many people are concerned because we prepare softwares, are helping computers to think like us. And Tim Cook mentioned, I am very concerned why some people are thinking like computers in political level. They are thinking without any social responsibility on their decision. They are just to be computer, not human being.
You've mentioned something about respecting principles. So let's talk about something controversial. What do you think of mandatory vaccines and vaccine passports?
Okay. The first is economics of development. I try to be expert on public policy, and one of them is health policy, and others education policy, and others. I don't like to interfere to decision of governments or to debate with them. To have a debate is good, but I like to mention something. Health public policy is a public good, because someone who doesn't like to take the vaccine will be perhaps with high risk for himself, and he take a responsibility for them, but he can affect it others. And in this context, if we are not going to put in control this pandemic, the people who died will be high. The cost of families will be higher. The cost of budget will be higher. The cost of our society will be higher. Who will pay for them? Taxpayer. In this context, let's think in gradual way, through a different way, to try to find a positive support from people about this process, because is a trade-off between public goods and individual rights. And in this debate, public goods are more useful, especially during the health crisis, than personal rights. This is a debate. I don't like to take a side, but I have obligation to explain, especially to young people, the report between health public policy as a public good and individual rights.
Yes, and efficacy of vaccines is also something to look at. So September 21 is International Day of Peace. So what is the importance of peace in today's world?
The first, I would like to thank my brother, Said. I'd like to thank your organization. In my long-term political, public and academic career, really, this is one of the best initiatives with a clear mission and with a clear vision how to achieve that. The trade for peace. Over the world, we know it's not enough to be a rich country or natural resources. We know that from difference of some countries. Many of them are rich on natural resources, but they are very poor in a good government. They have a very poor government, many times corrupted and many times captured for oligarch. In this context, if we see Israel, if you see Switzerland, if you see many good examples in countries without good natural resources. They shift the economic development to knowledge economy, and they invest in the best rule of law in their country. They try to have the best strategy for anti-corruption, to have a best strategy how to facilitate business, to have the best models on social cohesion. And what you are doing is to promote trade for peace. I live in a Western Balkan country, which, as Churchill mentioned in 1941, made more history than consumed. And I know that for my researches in Harvard University, in our region, in 1993, when former Yugoslavia break up, Serbia lost about 38% of GDP per capita. In 2001, again, just for ethnic cleansing, in Kosovo, Serbia lost about 80% of GDP. In short period, 1993 to 2001, they lost 51% of GDP per capita. You know how dangerous is the negative impact in our region if we don't invest ourselves for peace. Let's see history of EU. The First World War and Second World War started in Europe. And under nationalism and protectionism, the Europe, through this negative impact of wars, became poor part. Of course, let me, as a former Holy Council of Austria, to mention something for Austria. Just for the negative impact of the Second War, GDP of Austria in 1945 was equal of GDP of Austria 1883 or something then. 60 years difference was equal. What happened? Now Austria is one of the rich countries. And why? Because they didn't destroy the roots of the state. They didn't destroy the economy. They didn't destroy the public administration. They didn't destroy culture, how to work in unity and to eliminate as soon as possible the negative impacts of wars and conflicts. And the project of EU is one of the best projects in the history of war, because 1939 to 1945, Europe has 2 wars. But now, from 1945 to 2021, we didn't have any conflict in Europe. And for the reason they provide the peace, now the Europe is one of the biggest trade bloc in the world economy, is one second economic bloc with higher GDP per capita, is the main donors of foreign direct aid to countries with some challenges on health issues or natural resources and others. And it's a good example. And the message is that without peace, we don't have prosperity. But without prosperity, it's not possible to have sustainable peace. For this reason, we need to encourage our young people to be promoter of peace and to be promoter of better government of their countries. About better government, debate had been for 100 years. Let me share with you what Confucius, a Chinese philosopher, mentioned. In countries well governed, the poverty is something to be ashamed of. In countries which are bad governed, your health is something, health of leaders is something to be ashamed of.
You're also the steering committee member for WHD's initiative, Trade for Peace. So we would like to thank you for supporting our initiatives. We have another question from our virtual audience, Tongi Gra. He's asking, however,
which country is she?
From the Philippines.
I'll visit Philippines and to have open lecture with your student there.
Yeah.
Yes,
however, there seems to be contradictions in the efficacy of the vaccines, and the point that vaccine could be a risk in being harmful. Don't you think that people should still be given a choice?
Okay, let me to share my personal experience. As I mentioned to you, my daughter studied for math in US, and she worked for some years with Sanofi, which is the biggest French pharmaceutical company. She worked with their branches in Boston. And she worked with this company when annual revenue are about $33 billion, and just for research and development is about $3.3 billion, or about 16% of their revenues, which is typical for pharmaceutical company. We have debate in Albania. How is possible people or scientists find the vaccine in the short time? Because we didn't test it. And usually we need a more longer time to test the vaccine before to prove them to use for the people. And she mentioned to me, Father, this research about vaccine is not started just when virus was present in public. Pharmaceutical company everywhere in the world spend a lot of money for vaccine because it's the biggest market for them. And the part of this vaccine for COVID have a lot of elements of researches before from best pharmaceutical company. I know and I respect her concern, but we are living in the situation when uncertainties are higher than before. And we need to find a better equilibrium between uncertainties and security of our lives. Will be better to take vaccine or not to take vaccine. For some groups, it's good to have personal discussion with their doctors, but in principles, if we see the history of our countries, just what Alexander Fleming did about penicillin and about the revolution in health is the best pillar of development in history of our life. Without vaccine, perhaps situation had been worse and millions of people would be victims. We need to believe our researchers, we need to respect our institutions, and we need to be careful from conspiracy theory, because sometimes are very welcome for young people and journalists to discuss in mass media. I recommend it this girl, but also everyone who is part of this discussion, to watch in Netflix a special movie, Social Dilemma. How social networks can destroy our focus and shift that to different interests of private company or private social or political groups. In this context, we need to take our responsibility for ourselves, from ourselves. Try to reduce inflation of information. We are living in a period when we don't have high monetary inflation, but we have very high inflation on sources or information for different public debates.
Well, let's talk about gratitude now, since it's World Gratitude Day on September 21. What are you most grateful for?
I'm very grateful because what we need now is to create the larger network of people who are working every day to reduce insecurities to everyone. They need help. They need good examples. They need concrete activities to know that their future will be the better. But to achieve that, they need to be shareholders of this process. In this context, what is going to happen in September 21 is the excellent investment, positive investment to our people and to our country. And for this reason, I'm very grateful to be part of this initiative. I'm very grateful to you. I am very grateful to Said. I'm very grateful to many people from different countries which are part now of your initiative, and they are very active to share with your audiences their experiences, their ideas, because this is what we need more than ever. And you are doing that in the best inspiring way.
Thank you. We have a final question that we ask our guests. What is your inspiring message to the world?
Oh, you know, I like to mention something from Mother Teresa. Don't do the great things. You do simple things every way, but with a big heart. We need to do every day, in every moment, the simple things which can improve the daily life of the people everywhere. And if we create this spillover positive impact, for sure, our future will be better, and our young people deserve to have a better future.
Thank you so much for honoring us with your presence, sharing your words of wisdom, expertise, and inspiring the world with your story. In honor of international recognition for your virtue in persistently serving and inspiring humanity with your noble deeds, World Humanitarian Drive would like to award you, Honorable Professor Dr. Arben Malaj, with Inspiring Humanitarian Award, signed today, the 7th.
Thank you very much to your excellent moderation. Thank you very much to every one of our students. Thank you very much to Said and everyone who is involved in these excellent human activities. I am very optimistic, and I work very hard every day to help young people, not only in my country, to have the better future.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Arben Malaj, for your humanitarian works, and here's to many more. So congratulations, Professor.
Thank you. Please ask every young which is participated in this excellent promotion initiative to inspire people everywhere to be more proactive in their daily life. It's not necessary to wait to be leaders. It's necessary in every kind of position, for every social group, and for every geographical part of our countries and our global world to be proactive. Thank you, and the best wishes.
Thank you, Professor. We would like to share a quotation by our honorable guest, Professor Dr. Arben Malaj.
Okay, thank you.
People deserve governance from the heart and not governance based on fines and penalties. Governance based on human respect and not on arrogance of abusive power.
Excellent people who choose that. I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion with Professor Dr. Arben Malaj, that it motivated you to handle your finances, share your unique talents and skills with the world. Here on Inspiring Millions Show, we present you with brilliant people from around the world, so feel free to connect with them on social media, and together, let's make a difference in the world. If today's discussion inspired you, please like it, share it, send us a comment. Do share with us your takeaways from today. follow us on our social media accounts, click subscribe on our YouTube channel, WHD Media. Visit our WHD website, www.whd.org.uk for more inspiring events. WHD would like to thank all those who took part in yesterday's Malaysia Day World Moral Day event. Congratulations to WHD Malaysia chapter headed by Professor Dato Dr. GP Doraisamy, Secretary General of WHD Malaysia. Everyone, stay safe and healthy. These are times we should strengthen our bodies, minds, emotions, and our faith. Please remember to have compassion, be kind to yourself, others, and our planet. The world needs us to awaken, to wake up to our greatest selves. To our frontliners, we salute you. We thank you for your hard work, sacrifices, and dedication to humanity. To all those celebrating their birthdays and special milestones this week, happy celebrations. Have a wonderful weekend. On behalf of WHD team, especially those working behind the scenes, WHD Chairman Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed, WHD Director of Global Operations, Ms. Sarah Wilson, WHD's 12 Honorable Secretary Generals, we thank you, our virtual audience from around the world, for joining us and supporting our show. This has been World Humanitarian Drive's Inspiring Millions Show. I'm Viva Andrada O'Flynn. Please join us again next Friday. We will have a discussion with Tuan Haji Jaith. Thank you. As we inspire the world here on Inspiring Millions Show.